Hi, I'm Letnit.
I'm Ski Mask Mohawk.
This is a 1500 point game on a 6x4. I'm playing as Farsight Enclave.
And I'm playing Space Marines with very fluffy Ultramarines chapter trait.
It forges the narrative better.
For sure.
So it's an urban board. We have ruins for several buildings, a couple intact buildings, but we're just counting it all as 4+ cover saves just to simplify things. All the little barricades on the table are 5+ cover, and if vehicles run them over, they just take the dangerous terrain and then you remove the barricade, it just knocks it over.
We rolled short table edge deployment, and I got 2 of the 3 objectives on my table edge. There's one down there, and there's one hidden over there.
And my only objective is hidden behind the main building in the center. And it's a fairly offensive list anyway, so I'm not too afraid that he got 2 of the 3 objectives. So this is a 1500 point Tau Enclave army. It comes to 1497 points. It's got a commander with shield generator, stimulant injector, 2 plasma guns, not twin linked, with a plasma crisis squad. We've got another twin linked plasma crisis squad, 2 twin linked missile pod squads, and the twin linked fusion blaster squad deep striking. 3 squads of 2 broadsides, each with high yield missile pods and smart missile systems, and a Riptide with twin plasma guns and an ion accelerator. And everything in the army has early warning override for interceptor, except for the fusion blasters and the commander.
Alright, so this is my 1500 Space Marine army. It obviously looks like Ravenguard, but I'm using the Ultramarines chapter traits to take advantage of the Centurion firepower I'm using. So I have a chaplain with jump pack and auspex, and to leave troops and get around quick to deliver his warlord trait of Storm of Fire. I have 10-man tactical squad with melt-a-gun missile launcher, just because it's what I have built. 5-man squad that'll go on the drop pod or maybe deploy on the board, depending on how I feel. 5 scouts to hold a back objective and just be out of sight for some point filler. And 2 squads of Thunderhammer Storm Shield Terminators to babysit the Centurions or go for his objectives. And then 2 squad of Devastator Centurions with grav amps and grav cannons to make his life not very fun.
Something that's worth mentioning is we choose our warlord traits instead of rolling for them because it allows us to make a much more themed army. So the one I took is no scatter deep strike for my commander and the unit that he's with.
And the one I took is Storm of Fire that allows me to reroll shooting hits for 1 squad within 12 per game. It really helps us forge the narrative when it comes to the gameplay. Alright,
Roll off to go first. 2.
Alright, you can deploy first.
Okay, I'll go first. And the pregame handshake. So I lost the rolls and he's making me go first. So because he has 2 objectives and I only have 1, I decided to put everything right against the line since I'm really going on the attack here. So the furthest forward I could get the Riptide and still hide him was behind the tower, so he's there. All of my broadsides are right on the front because of the scenery density. They're probably going to be using their smart missile systems more than their high yield missile pods, and I'm probably going to have to advance them as well. And on each flank, I have my crisis teams with twin link missile pods. They're there just because they're my peek out and shoot and then jump back units. Because I only have 1 of the objectives and he's got 2, I decided to put an extra unit of crisis suits in reserve for deep striking. So I've got the commander, who's with one of the twin link plasma squads, and he's got the no scatter deep strike. Twin link fusion blaster squad, which is meant to take out tanks, but it can kill Centurions and Terminators as well. And I put the other plasma squad also for deep strike.
So I won the roll for deployment and first turn, but I gave it to him because I wanted to know what he would be deploying like. So because he had put the Riptide right there, I deployed my Centurions and Terminators behind the big LOS blocker in such a way that he hopefully won't be able to get a shot off on them turn 1. I have scouts holding the objective out of line of sight and hopefully out of range of his smart missile systems for turn or 2. And I have another squad over here holding my second objective. Alright, so even though he does have everything with interceptor, I still have reserves. I have a 5-man squad with a melt-a-gun and my drop pod just to try to maybe panic some crisis suits in his back line or kill broadside. And it also has a locator beacon, so the Terminator just can deep strike off that, maybe cause him some more trouble while he tries to get my 2 objectives.
So it's the end of Tau turn 1. It wasn't very eventful. We do have night fight turn 1, so it doesn't affect me at all because everything has night vision. These guys moved up, but they were unable to get a shot because of the billboard. 2 of my units of broadsides moved up. They all fired their smart missiles at the Terminators and managed to kill 1 combined. 2 of them were snap firing. The Riptide moved up, fired his ion accelerator with the large blast, killed 2 Space Marines in the ruin, and they fell back. And my other Crisis team popped out, shot their missile pods. The Terminators didn't kill any, and then popped back in. We'll see you at the bottom of Space Marine turn 1.
Okay, so this is the bottom of Space Marine turn 1. My pod came in from reserve and disgorged 5 Space Marines, which are no longer there. He shot his entire broadside interception army at them and got first blood off of me. But he now has no more smart missile systems to shoot in his turn. Moving on, I moved some Centurions this way towards my right flank so I could shoot at his broadsides, and I killed 1 and put a wound on another and made them panic off the board. And really, all else that I did was move my Terminators up to the wall to maybe mount it next turn. See you at the bottom of Tau turn 2.
3, 2, 1, and go.
So it's the end of Tau turn 2. A lot of my stuff ended up intercepting to kill the Space Marine, the drop podding Space Marine squad, so I didn't have that much to shoot. The 1 suit did rally, but the squad here used their high yield missile pod to destroy the drop pod. They just got a lucky hit. These guys popped out and shot at the Centurions, but again they didn't do anything because of the 2+ armor. The Riptide fired the Strength 8 blast at the tactical squad in the ruin on the other side, but it scattered way off, and then he used his thrust move to jump on top of the building, which should hopefully put me out of range of the Centurion's grav guns. So we'll see you at the end of Space Marine turn 2.
So this is the bottom of Space Marine turn 2. At the start of it, my Assault Terminators came in from reserve and deep struck there, where they hit spot on. He intercepted with multiple squads and managed to kill 2. So it's not too bad. And I moved guys up the board. These Terminators are now in the middle of the field, applying pressure to his objective, and my Centurions moved to get line of sight on his other unit of broadsides, which they took out. So I'm pretty happy about that, and see you on the bottom of turn 3.
So it's now the end of Tau turn 3. For reserves, I had the 2 units that came in from ongoing reserves and the 1 I made the successful roll. So they all came and essentially circled around one of the unit of Centurions, and it's now gone. For the movements, these guys, they moved up the side, and then they ended up shooting but not doing very much. These guys, they have to get away from the Terminators that deep struck last turn, so I jumped them over the billboard and then around to the front, but they're now standing in between Terminators and Centurions, but there was nowhere else really to go. The Riptide missed again. Its shield is now reliable, but it can't hit anything. And that's about the end of the turn. So we'll see you again at the end of Space Marine turn 3.
So this is the bottom of Space Marine turn 3. As you can see, not too many Tau suits left on my side of the board. I shot at the squad that was here with my tactical squad and killed 2, and then mopped them up with the chaplain and the scouts there. Here, I rolled really badly for hits and wounds, and he rolled really well and he killed the squad, but I have a good amount of firepower left to deal with them. And moving along here down this side of the board, there's just the Terminators left, so I'm still applying some good pressure on his objective. And see you at the bottom of Tau turn 4.
So it's the end of Tau turn 4. I'm running out of units quite quickly here. So I had the 1 squad in the back move up. And they killed 2 of the Centurions and then failed their leadership and fell back, but they'll auto rally, and then thrusted behind the tower again. These guys here, they moved up, they managed to kill 1 scout, and then they thrust to try to get towards that objective. The Riptide missed again, so he did nothing to the Terminators. And the 2 broadsides managed to down 1 of the 3 Terminators from the squad here, what they're shooting. And that's it for Tau turn 4, so we'll see you at the end of Space Marine turn 4.
So bottom of Space Marine turn 4, there's not much to report. The Terminators moved up here, crushed face as they were expected to, and consolidated into the Riptide's blind spot. Over here I used my Warlord trait of Storm of Fire to put wounds on the squad, and then I charged with the Chaplain and Scouts and did even more wounds. So hopefully it should die next turn. And other than that, yeah, that's about it. See at the bottom of Tau turn 5.
So it's the bottom of Tau turn 5. With units dwindling, the Missile Crisis team moved up on the side to try to get to that objective, now facing off against the Chaplain. The Scout Sergeant actually killed the commander in combat. The Riptide managed to actually inflict its second wound of the game and put one wound on the last Centurion. And that's all the models I had left on the table. So that's the end of Tau turn 5, and we'll see you at the end of Space Marine turn 5.
Hey, so it's bottom of Space Marine turn 5. Basically what happened is Centurion moved up to get a firing position, whiffed horribly and dealt one wound, and the Scout and the Chaplain came around and killed the one guy off, but the Chaplain took a win in retaliation. The games decided to go until turn 6 at the very least, so we'll see you at the bottom of Tau turn 6.
So the bottom of Tau turn 6, well, not much happened. I've got 2 crisis suits which are still locked in combat. They managed to kill the Scout Sergeants while taking only one wound in return. And then I jumped the Riptide off the building, who again failed to hit with all of his shooting, charged the 2-man Terminator squad left and killed them both in combat. So that took away Line Breaker. And then hopefully I can prevent the other Terminators from getting it. And that's it. So see you at the bottom of Space Marine turn 6, which may be the end of the game.
Okay, so it's the bottom of Space Marine turn 6. Really the only development was I moved the Terminators in to try to charge the Crisis team in combat. Failed because it was an 11-inch charge, but the Chaplain put a wound on one of the guys and they broke in combat. I failed to charge them down, but it's what happens. And so hopefully they'll just die to Thundernators in turn 7. So see you at the bottom of Tau turn 7.
It's the bottom of Tau turn 7. The game did go on for 7 turns. The Crisis team that fell back last turn rallied, fired snapshots at the Chaplain but didn't hit. The Riptide moved up, fired at the Terminators. They made all their invulnerable saves. So it charged, stopped 2 of them in close combat, and the consolidation move wasn't enough to move in, so combat just ended and we both consolidated. So that's the end of the turn. So the next will be Space Marine turn 7, then the end of the game.
So bottom of Space Marine turn 7 and therefore the game. I shot at the Riptide with the Centurion, dealt a wound to it, which was fun. I threw a grenade at the unit of 2 missile suits. Yeah, they're not broadsides. Missile suits. And killed one. And then when I went for the charge, he rolled 2 6s to hit and wounded both, and I failed my save on my Turner and my Chaplain, so I killed them with Overwatch. But I still win because I have a tactical squad on that objective with Warlord compared to his 3 secondary objectives. So that's the game.
So for the Tau side, the MVP would have been the Missile Crisis team, who managed to kill quite a bit of stuff in Overwatch and survive the entire game against all odds. Really, they did much more for the game than even the Riptide or anything else. The epic fail for the Tau side is probably one of the 3 broadside teams. None of them did very much. They were never in line of sight, barely able to move around, and it's just, I don't know. One of them only killed a single Space Marine, and that was a 140-something point unit, so they didn't really pull their weight.
So the Space Marine MVP would be my 1 squad of Dev Centurions. They helped kill many squads of broadsides and held the line against the deep striking Crisis teams in the back, killing another 1 plasma Crisis team and dealing with the commander team itself. And this guy survived the entire game, so my MVP. So my epic fail unit of the game is the other unit of Centurions that actually didn't get a single shot off and were never in line of sight and just got killed by many deep striking Crisis teams. So as well as the other squad did, these guys didn't do anything.
So overall for this game, Tau versus Ultramarines, I don't know, it's definitely a sub-optimum Farsight Enclave list, and it's still really powerful. I had to put a lot of points into broadsides because that's just what I had painted, and I only had the one Riptide. I really think that Tau weren't necessarily balanced perfectly when the Codex was written.
Well, in our current meta of this basement, it's between Tau, Eldar, and like Space Marines and Chaos. So generally we're fighting two unbalanced meta books. Always against me as the Space Marine player. Either it's like Flying Demon Princes with Biomancy, Wave Serpent spam, Farsight Enclave spam. So I use my Ultramarines Descendant, the Condor Guard, to take advantage.
Forge the narrative.
To take advantage of the Graf Centurion's mass amount of firepower, just trying to get as many rerolls to hit my list as possible without a Librarian or Tigurius. I thought I played it pretty good. I mean, like, I kept the big LOS blocker between me and like most of his army. The only thing really was like lock on armor saves with the last few rounds, but I was still pretty confident after I dealt with all of his Crisis team's deep striking that the game would go in my favor.
Carl, what would you have done differently?
Probably dropped at least one of the broadside teams to take a sixth Crisis team, just to have more scoring units on the board.
Makes sense.
And if I really wanted to win, take a second or maybe third Riptide, but it's just so broken.
I mean, no, we're all fluffy players here.
Of course.
Yeah, it's
course.
it's pure
And
fluff.
I
for
can't-
Farsight
I can't
Enclave.
Our
wait.
story is winning.
I
Yes.
can't wait for using Escalation and Stronghold and even Forge World, because I can show up and force my opponents to play against me. They have no say. I can show up to my friend's house, sit him down in his own basement, and make him eat my Forge World and Void Shielded list.
Yeah, definitely need to add a Revenant Titan to this army.
Oh no, Revenant Titans and Inquisitors
It only has 4D weapons.
take Kotias too, so when they try to deep strike to take it out with any Stern Guard combi melted
Don't forget
shields.
Void Shields.
But the Stern Guard, they get within 12 inches with their combi meltas, but like with Kotias there, it can shoot at it, like, doesn't matter. Tau Fire Base for sure, just for my Ultramarines, just to add in some anti-tank power and a Riptide, because every army has one according to the fluff, even the Farsight Enclaves when they separated before they were made. But yeah, everyone needs a Riptide and a Revenant Titan.
So what stakes did you make in the game, you think?
For me, I had the one unit of Centurions that weren't really in a position to do much. I mean, I was trying to hold them back for the inevitable like triple Crisis Suit deep strike, but I should have positioned them behind cover. And other than that, I don't think I really made too many mistakes gameplay wise. I forced him to deal with my deep striking in his back line, and the Terminators mocked up all of his suits back there, and I dealt with his deep striking Crisis teams pretty effectively. So yeah, I would just say the misplacement of my second Centurion squad.
If you could change the list, what would you alter to it?
Me, I would probably replace the missile launcher with las cannons. Just have las cannons for like a solid backline of 3 5-man squads.
Would you keep the pod?
Not against Tau if I knew I was fighting them, because Interceptor's just so good for 5 points. There's no reason to keep it. Yeah, so ditch the pod, ditch the jump chaplain, just have a librarian for 60 points to allow me to have more points to play around with. Maybe another unit of scouts to keep the backlines even more. But other than that, it's pretty good. Maybe even Tigurius. If I ditch the pod, that's 45 points. Chaplain's 110 right now. So right there, with maybe a couple more like drops, maybe the Omniscopes, could have Tigurius.
Were you guys happy with your Warlord traits that you chose?
Essentially, yeah. Mine did come in really handy to not be able to scatter. After I had the 2 units scatter and mishap, just having be able to that one
keep in
unit that
mind,
can't.
The like no scattered still relies on coming in on the right
Yes.
turn.
But now that it's 3+ every turn, it's a lot more reliable than before.
Still came in turn 3.
Yeah.
Not too bad. They all did.
I do think you'd be better off with another trait though. Just because missapping now doesn't. I mean, yeah, you have a 1 in 6 chance of.
Well, it's
getting
not so
that.
much to avoid the mishap, it's just to guarantee that they're all within 12 inches to
Oh, I
rapid
see.
fire on the
I see
target
what
I
you're
want.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with Storm of Fire myself. Go again, as I've said. just to get all the rerolls on the Centurion to hit, since that's really their only weakness when it comes to shooting.
Yeah.
So just keep the Chaplain around there with the jump pack. You can always easily get it in range of 12 of whatever unit needs to shoot, and I thought it came in handy.
So to close it out, I'll start with Carl. What did you learn, and what would you do differently if you had to face a similar list?
Other than changing the army that I mentioned earlier, I spent so much time essentially hiding from the Centurions and just being afraid of them, when if I'd just taken them on, I might have lost a unit or two, but I could have wiped them out a lot earlier. They were really dictating the tempo of the game, and I could have probably dealt with the Terminators easier as well, if I just took them out instead of waiting until the end.
So you play more aggressively next time?
Yeah,
Makes
because I started out aggressively this time, but I ended up going defensive again,
No.
because I don't know, 15 years
I think with all the
the
broadsides too, it's easy to fall back on that because you got
Yeah.
so many points sitting back. Cleary, same question. If you, what did you learn, and what would you do differently facing Farsight Enclave again?
Well, I learned that the luck really sucks the last few turns of the game when it doesn't really matter. When it comes to Terminator armor saves, the Riptide likes to step on them despite never hitting when it comes to shooting.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it was pretty good. I don't really think I made any mistakes, as I said before. When it really came down to tactical decisions, it was just the armor saves. I did throw away my 1 5-man squad, but that was, again, caused everything to have to not shoot in his turn for his non-line of sight guns. So
Cool. Any last words, guys?
no, remember, play fluffy. It's all about having
Forge
fun.
the narrative.
Yeah.
And Jervis Johnson is a dick.
Yeah, he needs to get horse whipping. All right, well, that's it for our thing. So thank you, gentlemen. I'm gonna shake your hands ominously. There we go. Good shit.